Imagine waking up on a morning, still half asleep, stretching, and instinctively grabbing your phone. You swipe through a few news headlines, check your email, and then suddenly realize that you're about to step into another day, just like the one before. Work, responsibilities, meetings, obligations, everything repeats itself in an endless cycle. Have you ever stopped and asked yourself, do I really want to live this life? That question may seem heavy, but if you don't ask it, you'll keep drifting along with what you have to do instead of what you want to do. Most people live according to a script that has already been written. They grow up, go to school, find a stable job, and then keep going. At some point, they realize that they never truly chose the path they are on, but simply followed what society expected. Maybe you're in that situation. And if that's the case, you're not alone. Not everyone stops to ask themselves what they're doing with their life. They're busy, they're caught up in the grind of work, family, and expectations. They think they have no other choice. But the truth is, life always offers choices. It's just that most people don't dare to face them. Because choices mean change. It means stepping out of the comfort zone. It means you might fail. And no one likes to fail. But there's something scarier than failure. It's reaching the end of your life and realizing you never truly lived. Many people look back at the path they've walked and regret the things they didn't do. They wish they had pursued their dreams instead of choosing stability. They wish they had lived true to themselves rather than trying to please others. They wish they had been brave enough to live a life they actually wanted. But wishing can't change the past. The good news is you still have time. No matter your age, your job, or where you live, you can change your direction. You don't need to give everything up to start over. You just need to begin with a simple question. What do I truly want? Not what your parents want, not what society expects, but what you really desire. Maybe right now, you don't have an answer. That's okay. Many people don't know what they truly want because they've become accustomed to living according to what's been laid out for them. But if you start asking yourself, you will gradually find the answer. And more importantly, you'll realize that you have the power to choose. You don't have to live a life you don't love. You don't have to accept a job you're not passionate about. You don't have to follow the path that others have set for you. You can create your own path. But this won't happen on its own. You must be proactive. You must decide that you won't let life pass by in vain. You must commit to yourself that from today, you will not just exist, but will truly live. And here's the important part. Living a meaningful life doesn't mean achieving great accomplishments. It doesn't mean becoming someone famous. It simply means living in a way that makes you feel fulfilled, pursuing things you care about, doing things that make you happy. This could be following your passion, changing your career, learning a new skill, or simply spending more time on things that matter to you. If you feel stuck, if you've ever thought that you have no other choice, remember, you always have a choice. The question is not whether you can change, but whether you dare to change. If you truly want to live a life worth living, wake up. Not just in the literal sense, but in the broader sense. Wake up from your old way of living. Wake up from limiting thoughts. Wake up to start doing what you truly want. Because if not now, when? Part 1. The cost of not living true to yourself. There is a very familiar story. A person works a stable job, earning enough to get by, but waits eagerly for the weekend every day. They don't really hate their job, but they don't love it either. They work simply because they have to. Every morning they wake up feeling tired, even though they've slept enough. Every night they feel empty, even after completing all their tasks for the day. And so another day passes, a week, a month, and then many years. When they look back, they realize they've lived most of their life in a way they never really chose. Have you ever wondered what would happen if you kept living like this for another 5, 10 years? Would you feel satisfied or would you regret the things you haven't done? Most people don't realize that living a life they don't truly want comes with its own cost. This cost is not always immediately visible, but it silently erodes you day by day. The first cost is energy depletion. When you're not doing what you love, each day becomes a series of obligations. You do everything just because you have to, not because you want to. This drains you, not because the work is too difficult, but because you don't find any meaning in it. You try to keep going, but over time you feel more and more discouraged. Eventually, you lose the motivation to do anything beyond the bare minimum required to get by. The second cost is losing connection with yourself. When you live according to other people's expectations, you slowly forget what you truly want. You may have once had a dream, but you set it aside because you thought it wasn't practical. You might have once wanted to try something new, but you were afraid of what others would think. Gradually, you become a stranger to yourself, no longer knowing what you truly like or want. And when you don't know what you really want, you default to thinking that sticking with the present situation is the safest option. The third cost is regret. The years pass by, and you realize you've missed out on too many opportunities. Opportunities to do what you love. Opportunities to try a different way of living. Opportunities to become the person you've always wanted to be. But time doesn't turn back. When you look back, the only thing left is the question, what if I had dared to try back then? But by then, that moment is gone. There's a reality that few people want to face. Every day, you don't live the life you want. You're trading away your own life. No one is stealing your life from you, but if you don't take charge, you're letting it slip away meaninglessly. And the cost of this compromise is sometimes greater than the cost of failure. People often fear change because they fear failure. But what most don't realize is that not changing also comes with a cost. You may avoid risks, avoid instability, but you're also limiting yourself. You can be safe, but you'll never truly live. And one day, when you look back, you'll realize you've wasted the most precious years just because of fear. No one says that change is easy, but what matters more is how much longer can you accept living like this? If right now you feel dissatisfied with your life, that's the clearest sign that you need to do something differently. No one can do that for you. No one can live your life for you, and no one is responsible for your life except you. The question is not whether you can change, but whether you're willing to accept the cost of not changing. If the answer is no, then it's time for you to start something different. Not tomorrow, not next week, but right now. Because if you don't start, nothing will change. Part 2, awakening. Recognizing what you really want. There is a question that seems very simple, but leaves many people confused. What do you really want? As children, we all had clear dreams. Some wanted to become artists, some wanted to explore the world, and some wanted to create something meaningful. But over time, life gradually forces us into molds, causing us to forget what we truly desire. When we finally get the chance to stop and reflect, many people realize that they don't even know what they truly want anymore. Not knowing what you want doesn't mean you lack passion or dreams. It simply means you've become so accustomed to following what others expect. From a young age, we're taught to study hard, get a stable job, and earn enough money to live comfortably. We're rarely asked, what do you really enjoy doing? Instead, we're encouraged to pursue what's good for the future. As a result, many people grow up with a sense of emptiness, even after achieving what society considers success. There is a huge difference between doing what you want and doing what you think you should do. When you do what you truly want, you feel excited and full of energy. Even when faced with difficulties, you still feel it's worth it. On the other hand, when you do what you think you should do, you might complete it excellently, but deep down, you don't feel truly happy. Recognizing what you truly want is not an immediate process. It requires being honest with yourself. You need to ask yourself the questions you've been avoiding. If there were no limits, what kind of life would you choose? If no one judged you, what would you do? If money wasn't an issue, what would you pursue? These questions are not meant to provide immediate answers, but to help you realize what really matters to you. One of the most effective ways to discover what you truly want is to observe the moments when you feel the most energized. What makes you lose track of time? What excites you when you think about it? What are you willing to do without needing anyone to remind you? The answers may not be immediately clear, but if you truly pay attention, you will notice the signs. Many people are afraid to think about what they truly want because they fear it's unrealistic. They tell themselves there are responsibilities to prioritize, limits that can't be crossed. But the truth is, knowing what you want doesn't mean you must immediately give everything up to pursue it. What's important is that you realize you have the power to choose, that you don't have to live your entire life in a framework that doesn't suit you. There is no perfect choice, but the worst choice is not choosing at all. If you don't decide what you want, others will decide for you. If you don't take control of your own life, you will always be swept along by what others set for you. You cannot expect a meaningful life if you don't know what you truly want. Awakening doesn't mean immediately changing your whole life. It simply means you start listening to yourself, start asking the important questions, and begin seeking what truly makes you happy. That's the first step, and it's the most important one. If you don't know where you're going, you'll keep going in circles. But if you start to identify what you really want, the path will slowly become clearer. You can continue living as you are, according to what others expect, or you can start asking questions and searching for answers. No one is forcing you to change. But if you truly want a meaningful life, then it's time for you to awaken. Part 3. Overcoming fear. Stepping out of your comfort zone. Have you ever faced an important decision, but hesitated because of fear? You know you want to change, you feel that your current life no longer fits, but every time you think about moving in a different direction, you hesitate. Thoughts about risks and possible failures paralyze you. You tell yourself that maybe it's not the right time, that you need to prepare more, that there are too many things to worry about. And so the days pass by while you remain stuck. Fear is one of the biggest barriers preventing people from pursuing what they truly want. No one likes the feeling of uncertainty. No one wants to face failure. The comfort zone provides familiarity, making you feel like there's less risk. You might not be completely satisfied with your current life, but at least you know what's going to happen. This makes you feel safe, right? Even if it sometimes means sacrificing bigger opportunities. But the comfort zone is not as safe as you think. It's just a boundary you're familiar with, not a true limit. Every time you refuse to step outside, you're reminding yourself that you're not capable, that you shouldn't take risks. Gradually, you build a belief that you can only do what you already know. And that is much more dangerous than any risks that come with challenging yourself. Fear does not disappear just because you wait. There is no such thing as the perfect moment when you feel completely ready to change. If you wait until you're no longer afraid, you will never begin. The truth is, anyone who does something new feels anxious. But successful people are not those who are fearless. They are the ones who dare to act even while still afraid. There's a way to view fear differently. Instead of seeing it as a warning to stop, see it as a signal that you're getting closer to something important. Every growth process involves initial discomfort. If you feel fear, it means you're stepping out of the familiar. That's a good sign. You don't need to take a huge leap. Sometimes just a small step is enough to change the direction of your life. The important thing is not letting fear keep you still. Every time you do something you once thought you couldn't, you're expanding your comfort zone. And as your comfort zone grows, the things that once made you anxious will become easier. No one can guarantee that you won't fail. But failure doesn't mean the end. Failure is simply part of the process. If you're so afraid of failure that you refuse to try, you've already closed every door before it even had a chance to open. Successful people are not those who never fail, but those who don't let failure stop them from continuing. The most important question you need to ask yourself is, what are you willing to sacrifice? Are you willing to trade stability for a chance to live the life you truly desire? Are you ready to face initial difficulties to achieve something more meaningful in the future? Are you willing to confront fear so that you won't have to live with regret? Stepping out of your comfort zone is not a reckless act. It is a conscious choice. It is the decision not to let fear control you. It is the only way you can truly live the life you want. If you're still hesitating, remember that time waits for no one. You can wait until you feel ready, but life will keep moving. If not now, then when? Part 4. Action. Turning dreams into reality. Have you ever had an idea or a dream that you eventually let go of? Perhaps you wanted to start a project, change jobs, learn a new skill, or simply live differently. At first, you felt excited. You imagined the results and felt motivated. But then days turned into weeks and you did nothing. Life continued as usual, and that idea was pushed aside, eventually fading away. Most people have moments when they want to change, but only a few actually take action. The difference between these two groups of people isn't about who has better ideas or more favorable circumstances, but about who takes the first step. No success comes from mere thinking. If you don't act, every plan is meaningless. One of the main reasons many people don't start is because they think they need a perfect plan before doing anything. They spend too much time planning, researching, and analyzing all possible outcomes. They worry about making mistakes, about things they don't know. And in the end, they fall into the trap of preparing forever. They think they're not ready yet, that they need more time. But the truth is, you will never feel completely ready. No one can know everything in advance. The only thing you can do is start right where you are. Taking action doesn't mean instantly changing your entire life. It just means you take a small step first and then continue. Someone who wants to write a book doesn't need to finish a chapter in one day. They just need to write the first few lines. Someone who wants to start a business doesn't need everything ready. They just need to take the first step to test their idea. The question isn't how much you can do right away, but whether you're willing to start. One of the most effective ways to ensure you don't quit halfway is to commit to yourself. If you're truly serious about what you want, create a clear plan with specific deadlines. Not a vague plan like, I'll do this when I have time, but a detailed plan with concrete steps. What can you do right now? What do you need to accomplish by next week? How will you measure your progress? Another common mistake is that many people only act when they feel motivated. They wait for excitement, they wait for the right moment, but motivation is not something you can rely on. It comes and goes. If you only work when you feel motivated, you'll never achieve anything lasting. Those who truly create results are the ones who take action even when they're not excited. They understand that persistence is more important than fleeting emotions. Success is not the result of one big action, but the result of small actions repeated every day. If you do one small thing every day, but do it consistently for a year, you'll go much further than if you only do it once and then stop. What matters is not speed, but consistency. There is no path to success without obstacles. You will make mistakes, you will feel discouraged, and there will be times when you want to give up. But these things don't mean failure. They are just part of the journey. Instead of letting difficulties discourage you, see them as lessons to help you improve. You don't need to have everything ready to start. You just need to begin. Even one small step is a big difference compared to doing nothing at all. If you truly want to change your life, stop thinking and start acting. Not tomorrow, not next week, but right now. Part 5. Living your own life. Don't fall back into old habits. Have you ever started something with full determination, only to fall back into old habits after a while? You set goals, took action, but eventually gave up because you were too busy due to the daily pressures, or simply because you no longer felt as excited as you did at the beginning. Everything seems to go back to how it was, and you tell yourself that maybe you're not good enough, not persistent enough, or not lucky enough to pursue what you want. But the truth is, that's not the case. Going back to your old ways doesn't mean you lack ability. It's because you haven't created a system to sustain the change. People tend to return to what's familiar, even when it's not good for them. Change isn't a moment, it's a process. It doesn't happen in weeks or months, but for a lifetime. If you don't actively maintain it, you will gradually be pulled back to your old orbit. One way to avoid this is not to set expectations too high for immediate change. Many people think that once they decide to change, they'll feel motivated forever. But motivation doesn't last long, and as it wanes, they begin to doubt themselves. Instead of relying on momentary inspiration, build a system of habits that will keep you on track even when you're not feeling excited. Successful people aren't the ones who are always full of energy. They're the ones with the discipline to keep going even when they don't feel like it. You also need to accept that there will be times when you want to quit. There will be days when you feel tired, doubtful, or face unexpected obstacles. That's normal. The issue isn't avoiding difficult times, but knowing how to get through them. When you find yourself off track, don't consider it a failure. Stop, reassess, and adjust. The difference between those who continue and those who quit lies in how they handle moments like this. Another important point is not letting others' opinions pull you back to your old ways. When you begin to change, there will be people who don't understand, don't agree, or even oppose you. They might have good intentions, worry about you, or simply not want to see you change. But this life is yours. If you keep living according to others' expectations, you'll keep repeating a cycle with no way out. You don't need to explain or prove anything to anyone. As long as you know you're doing what's right for yourself, that's enough. Most importantly, remember why you started. Every change has an initial reason, something that made you decide to step out of your comfort zone. When you feel lost, return to that reason. It will help you regain clarity and remind you how far you've come. If you truly want to live a meaningful life, you can't let everything stop at one phase. You must continuously adjust, keep learning, and keep moving forward. If you stop, you'll gradually return to your old way of life. But if you continue, even with small steps, you will never regret not trying. Conclusion: what will you choose today? Your life is not a series of meaningless days passing by. You weren't born just to exist, just to do what others expect, just to repeat old habits without feeling happy. You have the right to decide how you live, to pursue what you want, and to write your own story. But that right is meaningless if you don't use it. You can continue living as you have, continue waiting, continue postponing, or you can start right now. No need for a big leap, no need to change your whole life in one day. Just one small action to move forward. What matters is not how fast or slow you go, but whether you're heading in the direction you truly want. Your life is yours. No one can live it for you, and if not now, then when? Thank you for listening. Our book has come to an end. If you have any questions, please leave a comment below, and I will reply to you as soon as possible.